welcome back to FS22, and today we're going to have a look at Headland Management mode, which I think was out in FS19, but I never looked at it. But someone, Angry Dad Adam, or just Adam on my Discord, pointed out that it's quite a cool mod, and so I thought I'd give it a look, and I kind of love it, I kind of hate it. And we'll have a look at it today. Before we do that, if you're not already, click subscribe, turn on notifications, and if you enjoyed the video, click like, and leave me a comment if you have questions or anything. Okay, so Headland Management, you need to add this to your tractor. So if you go into the store and pick a tractor, you'll see down here we have Headland Management, and you have to install it on the tractor. It's £3,000, dollars or euros, but depending on your game style, it is very definitely worth it. I'm going to be using it linked in to Vehicle Control Addon as well, but first we're going to look just at Headland Management mode. So once you've got it installed on your tractor, to bring the settings up, it's Control, Shift and X. Actually going to turn that down because I don't normally have the sound on, and then this brings up the GUI for Headland Management mode, and then you can choose how you control your implements. So I have mowers on because I think it works quite well with mowers. It demonstrates it quite well. So you've got front and back. If you've only got, say, a plow on the back, you want to make sure you set it to back, because it will lower the weight on the front. You might see that in my Ravenwood Farm video. Turn plow. I've only used this with the smaller plows, and for that I would put it on to full turn. That worked quite well. PTO and hydraulics, same as implements. And then if you're using a ridge marker, yep. Haven't played around with the differentials in VCA because I tend not to use them. We're going to get to the GPS bit. It's integrated with guidance steering and VCA. I don't use guidance steering anymore, so I'll show you how to get it to work with VCA. And the other cool thing is when you put it into Headland mode, you can get it to slow down the cruise control, which I think is quite useful. So we're basically going to leave all of that as default, except for the volume that I have changed. The next bit that you will see is in the bottom right hand corner, just under the speedo, is a little green F, and I'll highlight that. That tells us we're currently in field mode, and then if you press Shift X, it puts us into Headland mode, and we get a beep, and we'll have a look at that again in more detail in a second. So I'm just going to enable the VCA GPS. If you want to know a bit more about VCA GPS, I've got a separate video on that, so I'm not going to cover that in great detail. And we will start up our mowers. I've already done a headland just to make it easier to turn, and we're just going to run along to the headland, and then if we open up the menu you'll see left Shift X will put us into Headland mode, which will lift the implements, turn the PTOs off, which is maybe not what realistic. You may want to leave them on actually with something like mowers, and we'll also drop the cruise control down. Yeah, so if you're mowing, you would probably leave the PTOs on the headland. But so if we then stop and hit Control X, you'll see we go into Headland mode. Everything's been lifted up and and switched off. In this case, we have an annoying beep, and we're just slowly going around with cruise control set at 5 kilometers an hour. We'll get ourselves lined up on the course, and then do left Shift X again. Everything goes down and is switched on. Cruise control goes back up, and we're off. So that's the basics, and that's if you're not using GPS and you just want to use Headland Management mode. That's how that works. Now if we go back into the menu and scroll down to the GPS, and if we scroll across, and our next turn is a right hand turn, and we set it to only VCA automatic turn right, and hit OK. Now if you look at the little F in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see there's a little arrow pointing to the right, and if we then get going again, we'll see what happens when we hit Shift X when we get to the next headland. And this is the bit that has me a little bit, I'm not sure about Headland Management mode, because you know it really takes the work away from you. You just hit Shift X and it does the turn for you as well. You do have to press Shift X again to switch off Headland mode. So if we do that, mowers go down, speed goes back up, and off we go again. So yeah, I'm a bit iffy on how much of this I would want to use. I've been using it on another save on some huge fields with some big kit. It's really nice. If you just want to chill and get some stuff done, just stick Headland Management mode on. You just got to pay attention to when you get to that. If you're using, I guess if you're using Wopster's guidance steering, I've not looked at how well that is integrated. If you've got Headland mode on there, you know, it's going to tell you when you get to the headland. You almost don't even need to watch the screen. And again, just get to the headland, hit Shift X to start the turn, Shift X once it's around the turn, everything drops down, off it goes again. It's really, and it is realistic. I'm pretty sure from watching things like Millennial Farmer, this stuff does exist in the real world. So that's kind of the basics and mowing. I'm just going to kill the engine on that. What if you've got something bigger and it's really hard to make those turns? So we've got an ART here with the bigger John Deere planter on the back. Haven't done a headland here, and we're just going to set this guy up to work with BCA, and we're going to put skip rows on basically. This is not a very big field, so we're probably only going to get to skip one row, but if we do Control C to get up our VCA menu, and if you scroll down to the GPS section, you'll see left reverse guidance lanes and right reverse guidance lanes. If you switch that to 2 and then hit back, it's going to skip a row for you. A function that I wasn't aware of with auto drive is when you get to the end of a row, if you aren't using Headland Management and you want to turn, you can hold down left alt and A or D and it will turn you onto the next row. So if I switch on this, and then if I just show, if I hit left alt and A, you'll see it switched over to the row over there, and then again switched. So let's just clear that off and switch it on. We then need to go into Headland Management mode and sort that out. We don't have a weight on the front here, but for this example you might just want to set it to just back. And actually we're going to leave the PTO and the hydraulics on. We don't have ridge markers, and we're going to set this to VCA and an automatic left turn because left is our next turn. Hit OK to accept all of that. Switch the GPS on, switch the planter on, lower it down, and off we go. And put it in forwards is probably a good idea, isn't it? And we are planting, I believe. I hate some of the textures in the new version of FS. We're just actually going to check the map so that we can be sure. Yep, we are planting, and we're going to run along to the end of the row and then hit our Shift X, and we should do a turn with the skip row on it. This implement maybe you wouldn't need to use, but if you're using something like Forward Ag's Seed Hawk, which I think was from FS17, you probably want to skip rows with that. And we're going to be getting some of these big implements, and skip rows is sensible at that point. And so if we now do Shift X, ooh, he doesn't want to make that turn very much, does he? It does quite a sharp turn. The PTO is still on, so you can see the seeder is still on. We've skipped a row to make the turn easier. Didn't particularly work because it's done a really brutal right hand turn and got itself a bit stuck. You might want to play with the speed on the headland, but it's going to make this turn, and then we'll hit Shift X again to drop down the seeder once it's come around, and we'll be good to go. You do have to, you know, think about when you're going to activate the turn to allow space to make the turn and get back on track, particularly if you've not got a very big headland around the field. You'll see now in the bottom right hand corner the arrow has swapped to pointing to the right because we've got to do a right hand turn, so we'll run that as well, and then I'll just show you how you kind of reset yourself on the field, and we'll call it a day. I think might show ploughing. I'll see if I get time. Ploughing works really well as well. So again, if we hit Shift X, we lift the cedar planter up, we do a brutal right hand turn. I desperately need to turn that beep off. There we go. As I've said in some of my other videos, I'm really sound sensitive, so yeah, that beep was just too annoying. We'll let this one run the row, and then drop that down, actually get the speed back up, and then we'll reset to fill in the gap. These textures are not brilliant, are they? The difference, I guess it's maybe real because it's quite subtle, but and we could have had the ridge markers working, but we don't need them because we're running VCA GPS. So what I do to make the turn is I manually intervene, and what that does is it gets us so that we're on the right turn for the next end of row. So we're just coming up to roughly where I stopped last time. So if I lift up, turn around, get on track, lower down, off we go, and you'll see the arrow now at the bottom right is pointing to the left, and we have a left turn to do next. Perfect. And we're reasonably well aligned there, so we're overseed planting a little bit on the edges. I hope someone comes up with road crop textures for things like corn. Would be nice. And we'll just do one more Shift X at the bottom, and that'll be this field pretty much sorted. And yeah, so that's if you want to skip rows. I guess the last one we will do is look at some ploughing, because I'm pretty sure I've got time to get that in as well. Again, I am sneaking in recording this before work, so Shift X lifts up, turns. Not the prettiest turn in the world. You could obviously play with the speed of it. You might want to go a little bit faster with these skipped rows because that's pretty slow, but it does really demonstrate the effect. The bit I like about this is obviously it manages your cruise control for you, which is nice, so it slows down on the headland. And if you're running like the front and back mower like we were, it will lift both up. I know some of that is built into the game, but I always found that a bit hit and miss. So you can do control V and that should lift both, but I prefer this. I do prefer this. So that's it. You know, if we look in the map now, we have planted our field with some pretty meaty headlands that we would have to sort out, but yeah, that's the basics of how you use it. I'm just going to pause the recording and we'll get set up to show you some ploughing. So we've now got the basic game Kernel and Plow on the back of the class. So if we just go back into our settings, this is where I said implement wise we just want to set it to the back because otherwise it will lower the front weight. I'm going to turn off the audible alert and then turn plow we want on full turn. VCA turn right is fine. I'm actually just going to knock the headland speed up to 10 kilometers per hour, and what I didn't do is hit OK, so it's not taking that. So okay, lift him from back, a full turn, not relevant. Okay, so if we now set our GPS, so let's Control W, and we need to redo the width, just Control Shift W. There we go. I'm just going to do a quick edit in here, and we're going to have always on and high so we can see the markers, and then we'll lower down and off we go. I mean, forwards would be a good idea, wouldn't it? I'm not going to do the whole field because ploughing is quite slow, obviously, but if we now hit Shift X, you might want to put skip rows on here, obviously, because it's struggling to get round the turn, but it's rotated the plough. Hit Shift X again to drop it down. Bang, perfect, perfectly aligned with the previous one. And yeah, obviously you're going to need to leave quite a big headland to get that turn in, but Shift X again. we might be better if we slowed down even more, I suspect. We'll get on the row and we'll try that. And then Shift X to drop the plow down, and there we go. So if we do Control Shift X, knock it down back down to 5, hit OK, and Shift X again, and obviously we're still going to take the same amount of space to turn, but it's just a little bit easier to get that timing right. But yeah, you're going to need quite a big headland on there, aren't you? But, you know, if you want some chilled out, easy farming, just hit Shift X again, and off we go. Perfect. So that's Headland Management mod, combined with VCA, showing you mowing with 2 implements, the skip rows with the planter, and then ploughing. I think it's a really cool mod. If you're interested, go check it out. It's on ModHub. If you found this video useful, hit the like button. Remember, we don't smash like buttons. Or try whacking it, but don't damage it. So I was watching Aussie Man last night. Leave me a comment if you found this useful, if you've got suggestions or questions, and if you're still not already, click subscribe. Catch you next time.